huge ahead. What will happen tonight? Elizabeth Harrington, staff writer with the Washington Free Beacon, Jackie Kucinich, senior politics editor at the Daily Beast. Elizabeth, let me start with you. How much of a huge win do you think Cruz could get, and how could that dent Donald Trump?
Well, I think both frontrunners are likely to lose tonight, but I'm not so sure it will be that big of a win for Cruz, and here's why. This is an open primary, which has tended to benefit Trump in the past. I think he's been really hurt with conservative voters in the state of Wisconsin with his mistakes this past couple of weeks. But at the same time, the Marquette poll that showed Cruz with a 10-point lead, it also showed that 5% of Democratic voters are going to switch over to the Republican side to vote. And I think those are likely to go to Trump. So I think Cruz will still probably win tonight, but I think it might be a little bit closer than he might think.
So, Jackie, when we're watching the returns later this evening, that's what we should look out for. And keep in mind that it is an open primary, and you got a slew of Democrats who could be pulling the lever for Trump.
Yeah, that is not. We've seen some split between Bernie Sanders and Trump voters, really, particularly in the areas where manufacturing has been an issue in Wisconsin. They oppose a lot of the trade deals that have been often discussed on both sides of the political aisle here. But it is arguably more important that Cruz win Wisconsin than Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, even if he wins Wisconsin, he still faces some pretty stiff headwinds, even going into New York and down the line. Because of the math on the Democratic side, because of the superdelegates, Hillary Clinton definitely has a big lead on him there. Well, Cruz, if he keeps on taking delegates away from Donald Trump, it's going to make it much, much harder for him to get that magic 1237 number that he needs to solidify the nomination before the convention.
That's a great point, Elizabeth. I mean, it turns out that Donald Trump has to get about 2/3 of the remaining bound delegates in order to get to that magic 1237. I mean, do you think that's possible if he loses tonight?
I think it's a lot less likely that he can get the necessary 1237 if he loses tonight. And that's really what the strategy is here, because Cruz wins, and it's all about momentum, and so momentum going into the next state. But the next state is New York, and he's not going to win New York. So after New York, when Trump wins, that makes it virtually impossible for Cruz to get the 1237, but it also hurt, and that's the strategy here. Cruz, Kasich are both playing spoiler to prevent Trump to get 1237 so that they can, try to turn the table at an open contested convention. And that's the strategy here. If Trump loses Wisconsin, it makes it less likely that he gets to that number.
Oh, you talk about Trump winning New York. What if Bernie Sanders pulls a big upset, Jackie, and wins the New York, which is the former home state,
right?
Kind of home state of Hillary Clinton?
That would be a very big deal, and then maybe we'd see another momentum shift. Now, I don't know that he could, he probably still can't catch up with her, but that would be a huge blow to the Clinton campaign for a number of reasons. She's won that state twice statewide as the senator, and they're really working hard to win in New York. They're putting a lot of resources there. Hillary Clinton has been in New York and Pennsylvania, and not in Wisconsin, for the last couple of days, trying to solidify her base there. So that's going to be something that I know we're going to be watching as we edge closer to April 19th for that primary.
There's only 2 weeks to go, so how do you see this playing out right after that? Jackie?
Oh, I'm sorry. So, yeah, then you have, I'm sorry, are you asking about New York or down the line?
After New York, you got Maryland and Delaware and the rest of the states until we get into California January 7th. So what do you see playing out there?
Yeah, Bernie Sanders has no reason to get out of this race. So I think we're still, no matter whether it's possible or not for him to pass Hillary Clinton, he's going to stay in. His people want him to stay in. He's still funded well. So, and he's got a message that is really resonating with part of the Democratic base. And the trick for the Clinton campaign is to not get so frustrated that they alienate Bernie Sanders voters, who in theory, they're going to need their passion and their momentum to beat whoever the Republicans put up in November.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I said January because I think I'm looking forward to the inauguration, wondering who's going to be standing up there. I mean, what if we have nobody? What if no one stands? Is that ever possible? I guess it'll go to the House.
Right. I mean, who knows what will happen, but still, I think at this point with Hillary basically writing off Wisconsin and turning to New York just shows the lack of the enthusiasm gap she's had this entire campaign.
And what does she say about that?
Bernie is outspending her. She doesn't. I think they're really frustrated. They're like, oh well, I guess we're not going to win Wisconsin. We'll just go to New York now. And she's sending Bill Clinton out there today, but I mean, the fact that Bernie, they still are having to lower expectations because Bernie is still in this race and he's out raising money just shows how weakened she's become in this race, and the enthusiasm among Democrats is just not there for her.
And Jackie, if she does enter the fall race as a wounded nominee, how does that play out?
I think it depends on who the Republicans put up against her. If we're talking about Donald Trump, his negatives with women are something like 70% right now, and that's across the board. That's going to be something that's very hard to make up. Not to mention where he stands with key parts of the Democratic base, like minorities, Hispanics. So it really depends on who ends up being the Republican nominee to see how wounded Hillary Clinton will actually be.
And the convention finally in Cleveland. Both of you believe it'll be contested?
Certainly looking that way.
It's definitely looking that way. If Trump wins tonight, pulls an upset, I mean, he probably could get to 1237. Otherwise, he probably cannot.
All right, Jackie and Elizabeth, we'll be following the results, like about 10 hours, just under 10 hours from now. Polls close, and our coverage will begin later on this evening, and we'll be glued to our television seeing what happens. Thank you.